Yeah. Hey, shout out to Daniel Winston.
Daniel!
Hooking us up on the super chat. Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, Daniel. Where you from, man?
I think Daniel Winston's out in Texas.
Oh, Texas.
Thank you, Daniel.
Rangers.
Thank you to Saul for hooking us up earlier on in the night. You can super chat as well. Get your name on the screen. Super chat. It's not potato. It's not rhinoceros.
Listen, man, whatever you think.
It's rhinoceros.
I'm sure all of England agrees with me.
I don't know why.
Anna and Dana.
Whenever you mispronounce something, you're like, this other country, I'm sure they pronounce it this way. It makes no sense. Rhinoceros. All right, welcome to the show. It is Ringside Report MMA. Tonight, Anderson Silva retires. Israel Adesanya moving up to the light heavyweight division. And Thiago Santos versus Glover Teixeira this weekend in the UFC in Las Vegas. Ringside Report MMA starts right now. I think we start right now. Is everybody with me? Boys, are you with me? There they are. There they are. Guys?
AJ's camera is frozen. Or
where's AJ? Sure. We don't have AJ. See, I thought we might have some problems right off the bat. We don't have AJ. I think we're gonna get AJ. I think AJ's showing up. There he is. I see him. Hold on a second. Let's get to AJ.
Where you at, AJ?
There
what is this crap?
AJ, do you see me?
Technology, man.
Yeah, you're not really good at technology.
I knew it was water.
AJ showing up.
Don't blame me this time.
AJ showing up after the show starts. Classic AJ. Good job.
Yeah. Blame it on AJ. First of all, the technology. I don't know what's up with our producers tonight, but man, I had to figure it out myself.
Easy.
Don't ask me how I did it.
Don't get mad.
Yeah, take it easy, AJ.
Okay.
Believe me.
Let me not pull a Dave Simon, man, and just the show is over, man. It's done. I had enough of this shit.
Oh, you know what? Fred,
Kind of sounds like Trump now. I had enough of this shit.
AJ,
yeah, let's just get rid of
AJ
AJ
doesn't
for a
like
bit.
AJ doesn't like technology. He wishes we were back to the AM radio days.
Yeah, this is kind of like the AM
Which is
radio
crazy.
days when I could cut off his mic. Remember that? When I would just cut off his mic and he'd be yelling in the background? This is even better because I've cut off his mic and his video. He can talk. I see him on another screen next to me. He's still yakking away. He can hear us, but we can't hear him. This is way better.
He's probably trying to yell so loud that we'll hear him throughout Montreal all the way to our houses. That's AJ style.
It's not going to work, AJ. You can yell as loud as you want. We'll bring you back on the show in a minute. Fred, we have some real business to talk about. We're going to get to Dana White agreeing with us about Jon Jones being the greatest of all time. We're going to talk about Anderson Silva and our memories of the great Anderson, who probably retired, although I'm not sure if Anderson retired last weekend. We'll talk about that. Israel Adesanya is going to move up to the 205-pound division to fight Jan Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title. Thiago Santos fighting Glover Teixeira this Saturday for the UFC. Bellator's got Melvin Manhoef and Corey Anderson going tonight. Corey Anderson's in Bellator now. UFC announced The Ultimate Fighter starting in March, but no coaches, which is great. Conor versus Dustin Poirier is a done deal apparently for January. Khabib's not retired. Tito Ortiz won a city council seat in Huntington Beach. Israel Adesanya says smoking weed caused his weird pec thing in Apollo Costa fight. I don't know about that. And Deontay Wilder says his water bottle was poisoned by his own trainer before the Tyson Fury fight. So all those things I want to talk about tonight on the show. Like, there's a lot to get to, a lot of weird things happening. And I know, like, we'll bring AJ back now. I think, should we bring him back, Fred? What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. That was not a ringing endorsement of bringing AJ back, but AJ, you're back.
Where the hell have it? Seriously, guys, what happened? Again?
We got rid of you. You start talking shit about the production staff. You start saying things about how the show is run. When you do very little for the show, we cut you off. That's how it works.
Hey, listen, man. Don't be. I swear, Dave, you're imitating the politics that are going on. First of all, I thought I was still on because I was yapping about the whole Israel Adesanya thing.
Could we not?
Happy
could
to
we
have
not-
you back, AJ.
Yeah, could we not do the
Hey,
the
what's up,
political
boys?
thing? Because let's just
Can you
say
s-
in
why
our
not?
group chat, we have a group chat, right? Freddie and AJ and myself, we have a group chat. And usually we're talking about MMA and UFC and fun things that I'm enjoying. Lately, it's been all Donald Trump, Joe Biden stuff, and
Conspiracy.
conspiracies, all sorts of stuff that AJ and Fred are peddling to me. And AJ and Fred are on
Count
one
all
side.
legal votes.
AJ and Fred are on one side, and I'm on another side, and you guys can all guess who's on what side. But they are bombarding me, and I'm definitely outnumbered in the group chat. It's 2-on-1, and you guys are just assaulting me with political things going on constantly. And it's been really ramped up over the past few days with this whole election madness. So can we not do that tonight? Can we not talk about the election? Because I feel like I've heard enough of your political ideas, AJ, for like a long time. Like I'm good
I was
on
saying-
AJ's
I was saying
political
both-
thoughts.
I was saying Kanye West should have entered. He probably would have won. You know
He
that.
did enter. He did
Did
enter.
he?
He voted for
Then
himself.
what happened?
I mean,
I think
One
he got
vote?
like 400,000 votes.
Kanye West is the
Did
only
he?
guy who's got the
Wow.
right mind to concede at this point. He's like, look, I concede, you know? Trump should do it, but he's not going to. Anyways, Anderson Silva.
Not according to Bet99, but his chances of winning is there,
All right.
man. You can make some good money if you put it down.
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. I really don't. It's stupid. I want it over so we could move on. Can we get to Anderson Silva?
What?
Or no, let's do Israel Adesanya first because that's the big one. That's the big news of the week, I think. Although
What, his tit?
Khabib not being retired, I think, is pretty major too. But Israel going up to the 205-pound division is pretty massive. Israel Adesanya is the UFC middleweight champion, and he's going to be moving up now to fight the light heavyweight champion, Jan Blachowicz. Here's Dana White after the fight night this past Saturday, the Anderson Silva fight, talking about Israel Adesanya making it official, Israel versus Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title.
Yeah, I wanted, listen, when the fight was over on Fight Island, the last fight, I was like, I'm going to have to sit down with this kid and convince him on why he needs to fight Whitaker. And Whitaker comes out and says he doesn't want to fight him. Craziest shit I've ever seen. So, yeah, there's no arguing with Israel now. I thought Whitaker deserved the shot, and Whitaker doesn't want it, so, yeah, we'll let him do it.
So we'll let him do it, and that's basically how this fight came to be. Robert Whitaker was going to be next in line after beating Jared Cannonier, but Whitaker apparently didn't want to fight Israel Adesanya for the middleweight title, so he decides, Dana White decides, all right, well, I guess we'll give Israel Adesanya the Jan Blachowicz fight because that's the fight that Israel wanted? I thought Israel wanted to fight Jon Jones.
Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing. Like, I would say, like, if Israel is going to go up in weight, the fight you want to see is Jon Jones, but Jon Jones is not the champion no more. So, I don't know. Maybe it's a little, like, miscommunication with everybody, bad planning. But, yeah, the fight we would want to see is Israel against Jon Jones. But I'll tell you what, if Israel defeats Jan Blachowicz, I think Jon Jones comes back down. Like, maybe Jon Jones has not a gimme fight, but maybe he fights somebody like at a lower level from heavyweight in the meantime, and Israel fights Blachowicz, and then they meet up.
Yeah, I just
Look,
I wish we could kind of cut the middleman out of this. You know, get rid of Jan Blachowicz. Jon Jones is really
Why?
the light heavyweight champion of the world. Let's have Israel fight the real light heavyweight champion. Like, I get it. It's a good fight. I'm not mad at it. It's cool and all. But, okay, Jon Jones gave up the light heavyweight championship because he said he was going to move up to heavyweight and he needed time to put on the weight. So far, we don't have a Jon Jones heavyweight fight. Like, it's not happening. Nothing's announced. The only thing I've seen from Jon Jones is when a guy tried to rob his house last week and he chased after him with a shotgun, which, like, can you imagine Jon Jones chasing after you with a shotgun? What a terrifying thing. That's why you shouldn't try to rob people's houses because you never know who you might be robbing. But Jon Jones isn't fighting at heavyweight. Like, we're not seeing Jon Jones fight whatsoever. So I'm kind of like, all right, why did he give up the light heavyweight title? He's been beefing with Israel Adesanya constantly online. I want to see him fight Israel Adesanya. Let's do that. And I don't really understand why the UFC's like, yeah, we're going to give him Jan Blachowicz, who's really the interim champion. Let's be honest. He's an interim champion. He's not the real champion.
But he's still the champ.
Jon Jones would beat him. Jon Jones is the real champion. Jon Jones vacated the championship. Jon Jones has been the world champion since 2011. Like, let's be real here. It's cool. Israel and Blachowicz is all fine. But the real fight is Jon Jones versus Israel Adesanya. And I feel like Israel's probably moving up to 205 just to try and goad Jon Jones into coming back and fighting for the light heavyweight title. Like, Israel knows Jan Blachowicz isn't an interesting fight for Jon Jones at 205, but I might be if I am a double champion, so maybe I could get the fight with Jones. Look, Israel knows he's going to make a certain amount of money fighting Robert Whittaker, and he's going to make way more if he fights Jon Jones. Israel knows that. He wants that fight. That's the money fight for Israel Adesanya. He's trying to get Jon Jones to come and play ball. Maybe he thinks this is his way to it by fighting Jan Blachowicz, becoming the light heavyweight champion, and telling Jon Jones, come get some. I don't know. I don't know what Israel's angle is on all this. Maybe he just wants to be double champ and that's it. But to me, it's the Jon Jones fight, AJ. All right, AJ, I'll let you talk. All right, keep fucking interrupting me.
I'm sweating from the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I see you. I see you. All right, give it up, AJ. Give it up.
First of all, he doesn't want to be just double champ. He wants to be triple champ. That's his ultimate goal. And number two, Jan is the champ. It's not Jon Jones. He gave up the belt, so sayonara, man. He's gone. The thing is this. The big ratings are going to be if Israel beats Jan, then Jon Jones has the option to stay in heavyweight and fight or come down and fight Israel for that belt. Now, that's where the money is, and I'm sure that's what Dana White wants, and I'm sure that's the whole brass that the UFC wants. That would be something. And even if Jones doesn't come down to light heavyweight, Israel is the champion. That's his second belt. At that point there, Israel said he'll go into heavyweight, and he'll fight who's ever the champ there. And that could be Stipe, that could be anybody at that point.
Sure.
And he will fight, and chances are, this guy, man, he might even win. But the thing is that there's so many possibilities. But the champ right now is Jan. Forget about Jones. He's in the heavyweight now. And not even in the heavyweight because he hasn't had a fight yet. Right now, Israel, man, is the man.
Israel should want to that's just stupid. But he should want to fight Jan because there's not a lot of guys that are two-division champs in the history of the UFC, so that would put him in a list of very accomplished fighters. So yeah, he should want to fight Jan Blachowicz. Now, when you mention heavyweight, to me that just sounds like back in the day. If you remember Brandon Vera, he would be like I'm gonna win the light heavyweight champion, and then I'm gonna win the heavyweight champion, one title at a time. Israel is a champion. Props to him. But start with 205, and honestly, I'll just throw it out there. I don't think he's big enough to fight Stipe. He's a pretty athletic dude and all that, but Stipe's a real heavyweight.
Yeah, I think Israel Adesanya moving up to heavyweight is a bit of a stretch. I don't really buy that. But AJ seems to buy Israel Adesanya moving up and beating everybody. I don't know.
Look, he's talking smack, and that's all I'm saying is that he's saying that he'll move up 3 weights to get there. And you know what? He's big enough, Israel, to be able to light heavyweight, no problem. And to get into heavyweight, I could see him getting there. But you know what? He wants to be a 3 crown champ. That's what his goal is. And you know what? If anybody could do it right now in the UFC, that's the guy who can do it. He could go up and down. Jon Jones can't go up and down, but this guy can. And I'm telling you, if he beats Jan, which I think he could, man, the UFC is going to have a real star on their hands, and it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, I think he might be able to beat. He might be able to beat Jan Blachowicz, but going up to heavyweight, I think, is a whole other thing. I'm not convinced he's going to beat Jan Blachowicz. I think there's a huge difference between a middleweight and a 205-pounder. There's a huge difference.
It's possible, Dave.
My early pick on that fight is Adesanya. I believe he's a special talent, so I believe he could probably compete at 205. Now, if Jon Jones comes back down, well, I'm gonna probably pick Jon Jones. But no, I'm hyped for this change. And also, let's look at the rankings. Robert Whittaker, he defeated him. Paulo Costa, he defeated him. Cannonier, I don't think he fought Cannonier. I don't think he fought Hermanson, but he has a win over Romero. So like he defeated a lot of the top guys already at middleweight. So why not move? Why not move in weight?
Yeah. Well, I
Fred,
agree.
you okay there?
Look, I agree 100%. I think that's the fight to make. But I think
Dana
it's the
White wants it.
I think
let me
it's the
tell you.
fight to make right now for Israel Adesanya. But at the same time, Jon Jones is the bigger fight. Like, I get Israel going up and fighting Blachowicz. I get it. But Jon Jones is the real light heavyweight champion. So I understand Israel wanted to go up and do it, and yeah, maybe he'll beat him. But all that other stuff, I would pump the brakes on the heavyweight talk and the beating Jon Jones and all that type of stuff. No word on what Jon Jones is going to do
He
next.
should want to fight Jon Jones. Like, if
Yeah.
you're Adesanya, keep on calling out Jon Jones because that's a big money fight. That should be the ultimate goal. It should be to beat Blachowicz and then go get that big money fight against Jon Jones. So if you're Adesanya, just keep on talking. People like that. That gives you a personality. That puts your name out there. I'm all for him, like, keeping the trash talk going. He wouldn't be the first. Like, remember Conor McGregor? He used to think he would, after winning the lightweight title, he wanted to defeat Tyron Woodley and whatever. So, like, that's just how it is these days.
Well, it's like, you understand it, man. When these guys are on that level and they're undefeated and they're smashing people left and right, they feel like they can't be stopped. You know, they feel invincible. And I get that. Look, Conor McGregor, for a time, he was looking invincible at 145, and 155 he was looking great too. But no one is invincible. And we know this by watching so many fights over so many years. There are some great fighters, but sometimes, you know, your victories go to your head and you start to think that you can do things that no one else has ever done because you're special and you're the one that can go up 3 weight classes and become a triple weight champion. Like, I get Israel Adesanya's mentality. I just don't believe it. Like, can he be the light heavyweight champion? Yes. Can he beat Jon Jones? Possibly. Can he beat the top 5 heavyweights in the world today? No. I don't think so. I think he's too small. And that's just the way it is, man. He's a middleweight. He's the middleweight champion. Anderson Silva, when he was unstoppable, in his prime, the man, could he have beat Brock Lesnar? I don't think so.
Good point, Dave.
I think
Good
it would have been
point.
tough. You know, I think it would have been a very difficult night for Anderson Silva. Not because Anderson Silva is not a better fighter than Brock Lesnar, but the size is it's a big factor. There's a reason we have weight divisions.
Yeah, but he could have defeated Randy Couture.
Sure. But Randy Couture was also really a light heavyweight, right? Like, he wasn't a legit heavyweight. He fought at light heavyweight. I'm talking about guys that could not fight at light heavyweight. Like Francis Ngannou against Israel Adesanya. How do you think that fight really plays out? You know?
Yeah. You know what? That's
what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
Israel's
probably gonna be
great.
a bad night if you get hit, for
And
sure.
he
But
could
it also comes
beat-
down to, like,
Israel's big enough to maybe beat Jon Jones. He might be the best middleweight and light heavyweight in the world. He might be. But to say he's also the best heavyweight in the world is like, all right, dude, come on.
Yeah, that's just
Like,
a waste of time, man.
yeah.
We should concentrate on him fighting Jon Jones because that is the fight that will sell a lot, and that's the fight that people would get up for. Like, you put Adesanya and Jon Jones,
Yeah.
that's drawing a lot of pay-per-views.
Now, I see this Blachowicz fight as a setup fight for that fight, right? It's a setup fight for Jones and Adesanya. But why do we have to have a setup fight?
because he's the champ. It's not a setup fight. You
Is
want to
he,
get
though?
the belts? Of course he is. He's the guy that holds the belt at the moment, so he is the champ, regardless if he's intern or not. That's the thing. If Adesanya comes in and takes that belt, then he holds that belt, and Jones has to fight to get his belt back. Now, that's a moneymaker, like Fred said. That's pay-per-view numbers. That's what Dana White wants. Maybe this is what the setup is, because in the end, the UFC is a soap opera. It's like one of the best soap operas. It's like WWE soap opera, but with like a lot of like hospital visits. But the thing is this. That's the
WWE,
setup.
there's a lot
And
of
you know
hospital
what?
visits too, AJ.
No, there is. I know that, dude. I know.
Medical facility.
You know, but
Anyways,
yeah,
let's hear
that's
Dana
true.
White agreeing
But-
with Fred and I and disagreeing with AJ, saying Jon Jones is the greatest of all time.
I've been telling you guys Jon Jones is the GOAT forever. He's not the pound for pound best fighter in the world right now, though. But yeah,
So there it is. He doesn't feel that Jones is the best pound for pound fighter right now, but he is the greatest of all time. So that's Dana White basically telling you Jon Jones is the greatest. He's accomplished the most. Is he still in his prime? Is he the best right now? Maybe not, but he is the greatest ever, and that's what Freddie and I were saying last week on the show.
Yeah, but Dana White goes back and forth. You know, he gave Khabib like the number one pound for pound and whatnot.
But he's
You
been
know,
pretty
Jones still has
steadfast.
to fight in the heavyweight.
Jon Jones is the greatest of all time. Israel
Look, he still has
Adesanya
to fight in the heavyweight division.
says smoking too much weed caused that weird growth in his pec that a lot of people thought was maybe due to
You guys should
steroid
be worried about that.
due to
then.
steroid use.
Well,
No,
I
the
mean,
growth
smoking weed
growths
will make you eat a lot of junk food.
exactly.
Might create.
Yeah, the growths in me and Fred's pecs are not due to smoking weed; it's due to eating candy. All right, we have the growth in my belly is due to smoking weed. No, that's also
Listen,
due to
if I ever
candy.
Listen, if
And
I ever see your
COVID.
tits hanging down, I know exactly. Forget about going to the doctor. I'm just
No.
going to bring up this article again. But how does that make sense? I mean,
don't
you guys are
know.
connoisseurs of the fine art of cannabis smoking.
Yeah,
Does that make sense? Have you ever heard anything like that in your life?
no, Fred,
Like, seriously.
No.
never.
So what do you think it is?
Weed
He's
tits?
bullshitting?
I've never heard of weed tits. That's fucking crazy. Never. It's insane. I don't know what doctor told Israel Adesanya that, but like the fact that he came out with that excuse makes me go, maybe he was on steroids because he's coming out with all sorts of weird excuses, like all sorts of weird shit that he's saying caused that weird lump in his breasticle, and it makes me wonder, like, okay, well, it's not weed, Israel. Whatever you're saying there, that's nonsense. So
Listen,
What's
you remember,
really going on?
You remember way back when we had Elias Theodoro on, and we had also the Panda, and they were talking about weed and whatnot. And I think there was at one point, we got to bring up that show, but at one point he was talking about steroids and steroids use and the way to sort of like bring down the levels of steroids. And they said that using like marijuana actually reduced those levels and the inflammation levels and whatever. I don't remember it 100%, but it had to do with they smoked weed to reduce the levels of steroids that can be detected. So you know what, like you said, Dave, and it was, everybody was reporting it. Every steroid guy, that I knew at the gym, like the first thing when they saw that pic and I showed it to them, they're like, oh yeah, this guy's on juice. This guy's doing juice, and that's the first thing they said. So I'm going back to what Theodoro said back then. Maybe that's why his pec is down. Who knows?
Fred,
Maybe
do
there's
you
some truth to
remember
it.
when we were talking to Elias Theodorou, him saying anything about guys smoking weed as a masking agent for steroids? Because I don't recall him saying
It
that
was
at
either
all.
him or
I think that
him
was
or
in
Panda, one of the
AJ's
two.
I think that was in AJ's
No,
mind.
no.
I don't know. Do you remember anybody
This
saying
is
that,
the
Fred?
first time I ever hear that.
I don't know.
And I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
man, let's
call
go
out
back to-
AJ
it was
on his
either him-
lie. I'm just gonna say
Listen,
AJ
there's-
told a lie, and I'm not gonna call him out because I'm a good friend.
Yeah.
But
We
AJ
love you,
told
What are you
AJ.
talking about a lie?
AJ's
It was
lying
either
again.
Elias or Panda, man.
Okay.
Remember, they were talking about that. That was like 2 years ago.
Wait, AJ. Okay, I'm gonna call you out. So AJ, that titty, that's like from a couple months ago, huh? And you showed that pic at your training people that you haven't trained for like a year.
Oh.
No, that was-
I'm just saying,
was-
like AJ,
Oh.
man.
No. The gym, no.
Caught in a
I already
lie.
told you those guys. No.
Caught in
I
a
already told you those
lie.
guys.
Went
I
to
told
the,
you those
you
guys, the
haven't
gym
been
was
to the
open.
gym in a year. Oh,
Dude, I work for a
see.
gym.
Uh-huh.
You guys, I work for a
Ah,
gym.
maybe.
The thing is
Sneaky,
this:
Okay, maybe.
listen, go back to our old shows. Do you guys remember anything?
No.
This is the cause and effects
We
of weed.
smoke a
You
lot
forget
of
your
weed.
long-term
Yeah,
memory.
yeah, we forget. Yeah.
So I'm gonna remind you guys. Back then, when he was fighting, just before the fight and that tit thing was out, I brought that to the gym and I showed it to the guys, and I just wanted to get their opinion on what they thought, and they told me straight up, the guy's on juice. And that's where I'm getting. And I'm going back 2 years ago to Panda or Elias. One of the two were talking about.
Somebody
And I
said.
think it was Elias.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about like masking
QAnon.
steroids with marijuana.
Mm.
We just got to find that clip, man. AJ don't lie.
We'll go
AJ
find
says
it.
the truth like Donald Trump.
Go find it, and then AJ does say
Don't
the truth.
compare
Like,
you to. Don't compare yourself to Trump, please.
yeah, AJ does tell the truth like Donald Trump. He'll give you a fact with no evidence to back up that fact, and then when you go and try to find evidence, you find that, well, that's completely refutable. It's not really a fact. It's actually a fallacy. Once again, AJ, you are a lot like Donald Trump. Good job. Okay, so Israel Adesanya says smoking too much weed causes weird peck, and he's going to fight Jan Blachowicz, which is very nice. I like that. Dana White says Conor McGregor is going to fight Dustin Poirier in January. It is a done deal.
It's about time.
He also talked about the Anderson Silva fight. Well, we're going to talk about Khabib. He said some interesting things about Khabib. But he talked about Anderson Silva. So Anderson Silva loses to Uriah Hall last weekend. Gets knocked out in the... Which Fred predicted correctly. Freddie was right. AJ and I were both wrong once again. We screwed up, AJ.
Yeah, because we were going with...
Our heart.
No, we were going with heart, dude. We were going with, like, nostalgia. We were going with, like, you know, the legend. And then we said it, too. We said we're going to go with Silva, but it's a bet from the heart. It wasn't a bet from the smarts. Freddie went with smarts. We went with heart. But you know what? He still did pretty well up to that point where it didn't look good for him. But he did okay in the first round.
He did all right. He didn't look terrible in the fight, but in the third round, he got rocked and hurt. And then in the fourth round, he got totally finished, and it was over, and it was a little sad. You know, it's always sad to see the great Anderson Silva look less than great. He's just not the same. He was talking before the fight that this will be his last fight in the UFC because the UFC is telling him that this is the last fight for him in their company. However, Anderson's not saying it's his last fight. But he's got one fight left on his UFC contract. So let's hear from the UFC president, Dana White, before we hear from AJ. Okay? Here's Dana White, not only a little bit shitting on Anderson, but also really shitting on Uriah Hall and how unimpressed he was with Uriah Hall in that fight. Dana does not seem to like Uriah Hall. Let's listen to the UFC president.
He fought a guy that has absolutely zero output. They're in a 5-round main event on ESPN. They threw 11 punches in the fucking second round.
Yeah, in the third round, he did beat up and drop and almost finish Anderson Silva. And then the fourth, he finished Anderson Silva. But, you know, something that Israel Adesanya couldn't do. I don't know about you guys, but Uriah Hall put Anderson Silva in way more danger than the reigning middleweight champion did. So Dana might be pissed,
And both guys should be blamed for not throwing punches.
That's Anderson's style.
Yeah, exactly. That's an Anderson fight.
Anyways, let's hear from Dana.
You break into the, you fight any of these other savages, you know what I mean? He'll be in big trouble, and he'll take a shitload of punishment. Uriah Hall threw 11 punches in the second round. Uriah Hall's one of the most gun-shy fighters in the UFC.
Dana totally forgot about Anderson Silva fighting Israel Adesanya like 2 years ago, but anyways.
And look at Anderson. When the fight was over, he couldn't even stand up to do his interview. He had to sit down to do his interview. And I made a big mistake. I shouldn't have let him fight this fight tonight. But out of respect to him, and he's a legend of this sport and he's a legend of this company, I did something that I disagreed with. And I knew I was right, and tonight proved I was right. And Anderson Silva should never fight again.
He didn't want him to fight. He did something that he disagreed with, and he knew that he was right. But anyways, he let it happen anyways.
Dave, you know what? He would have been singing a different song if Silva won. He would have been like, I knew it. Silva had it still in him. This Silva is like the greatest of all time, and he's so great that he still has one fight in his contract, and we're gonna get that fight in Brazil so he can retire in his home. So that's what Dana has script A and script B, and script A was Silva losing, script B was Silva winning. And you know what? It's not like he fought that bad, Silva. He was fighting his style, like you said. I mean, it wasn't the most exciting fight. It wasn't like the greatest fight that you'll remember Hall or Silva. Like in a couple of months from now, you'll be like, shit, what happened in that fight? Oh yeah, Silva lost. But the thing is that Silva is 46 years old. He's got a lot of wear and tear on his body, and it showed in that fight. He still looks good, but every time he throws a kick, I cringe. Every time he stops a kick, I cringe. Yeah, he's going to be 46 shortly, but the thing is, either or, 45, 46.
April. Dana kept calling him 46. Okay. Dana kept saying he's 46. I'm like, hang on. He's 45. He's going to be 46 in April. Dana made him older.
I keep saying 46. Yeah, maybe he's listening to us because I keep saying 46 all the time to Silva. But listen to this. Look, he's got one fight left in his contract. It's a shame. I wanted to see Silva leave this sport with a win because he is the greatest of all time, regardless of what his record shows in the last, couple of years. But
yes.
You know what? You got to listen to Dan at this point. He went with script B. It's time for Silva to retire. He might. I don't know if he can walk away and go to Bellator with one fight still in the contract with the UFC.
Well, no.
Unless the UFC brass decides to actually cut that last fight.
Now let's hear Dana. Dana was asked about that at the press conference, and we're going to hear his response here in a second. So Anderson has one fight left. He lost to Uriah Hall, a man who's about 10 years his junior, okay? 10 years younger. We all know that there are fights out there for Anderson with guys that are older that he could still take right now, right? Anderson and Bellator, there are guys he could fight. Melvin Manhoef is fighting tonight for Bellator. You're telling me Melvin Manhoef can still fight and Anderson Silva can? And I don't think that Dana White should be the one to tell Anderson Silva whether he could fight or not. It's Anderson Silva. If Anderson Silva wants to fight, Anderson Silva decides when his career is done. It's a goddamn spider. Show some respect. Here's Dana White asked by Kevin Iole if he's going to release Anderson, cut his contract because he's got one fight left. Dana is saying that he will never put Anderson in a UFC octagon again. He will never allow him to fight for the UFC again. However, he still has one fight under his UFC contract, and Anderson can't leave, can't do anything if he still has that fight and the UFC doesn't release him. So here's Dana White being asked if he's going to release one of the greatest fighters of all time so he can move on with his life and career.
I don't know. I want to talk to him, and I'm not going to do anything to hurt Anderson Silva. He's a grown man. He can do whatever he wants to do. Well, I can't say I'll release him from his contract, but we'll figure something out. I don't know.
If he's a grown man, he can do whatever he wants to do.
What's wrong with that?
Well, if he's a grown man and he wants to be released from his contract, shouldn't you release him from his contract? But Dana White says
I'll release him from his contract. I can't say I'll release him from his contract, but
I can't say I'll release him. Does he usually release guys?
Of course he.
Don't you think George St-Pierre wants to be released from his contract?
No, but he can't just say, yes, I'll release him, because then people are going to hold him to that, and probably also legally they're going to hold him to that. So,
and he won't release him.
That's Dana White being smart.
He won't release him.
Maybe he will, man. We've seen other guys go to Bellator and Dana be okay with it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised that happens. Like, if Anderson Silva wants to fight, Dana's not going to hold him and stop him from fighting.
Yes, he will.
Come on, man.
George wanted to fight.
I don't. I'm sorry to go political, but you're putting bad intentions to Dana like you're putting bad intentions to Trump, man.
I haven't said anything about Trump on the show.
Maybe it's because they're friends, man. You're just thinking he's bad because of that.
It's okay, Dave. You're allowed to your opinion. It's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. They both run businesses where they don't actually care about human beings. That's fine. That's fine to not actually care about the human
businesses that employ a lot of
not according to Khabib.
And they paid him.
Respect nobody.
Khabib made a beautiful.
Not even legends like Anderson.
No. Khabib made a beautiful speech on Dana and the UFC.
Yeah.
Listen, what it comes down to is this.
Khabib also said a lot of pretty horrible things about that teacher who was decapitated in France. So let's not talk about Khabib and how great of a man he is, because Khabib is saying some pretty bad things about the president of France, and he seems maybe pro-terrorism. So I'm not so down with Khabib. Sorry.
Dave.
What? Is Khabib not pro-terrorist?
I know he's like a champion of the UFC, and he has a 29-0 record.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's all you want to talk
about. Who cares about that, AJ,
Khabib.
man? Who cares about that, AJ? Dave's right on this one.
Oh. Oh,
I don't want to
shit.
get into politics.
Freddie,
I don't want to get into
my
politics.
man.
I've always been with you on this one, man. Come on, you know that.
I know,
I know.
but you know what?
Freddie.
Let's not talk politics
All right.
when it can
Here's
harm
Dana
you.
White.
All right, I'm sorry.
Here's
This
Dana
is my
White.
fault.
Here's Dana White talking about Khabib Nurmagomedov. Dana says Khabib's not retired.
Well, he didn't say that he'll fight at whatever, but he didn't say no. He's considering the 30-0. His father wanted it, and I think that he was super emotional, had the mumps, measles, or whatever, broken toe, trained on a stationary bike for that fight, and then came in and fought. And I think that he was super emotional. So he's still the champ. There's no vacant title open right now, or no interim title happening. He's the champ, and we'll give him some time to figure out what he wants to do.
So he's going to go
Good
talk to
news.
his mom, see what's up. Khabib is still the champ. They're going to give him some time to figure out what he wants to do. But as far as Dana White is concerned, after talking to Khabib, Khabib is not retired. He's still the champion. They are not making a new lightweight champion. This Khabib GSP thing might be still on the table here, boys, because if they're trying to entice Khabib into another fight, what are they going to give him? What can you give Khabib that will entice him to fight again in the UFC? GSP, baby.
You might have a point there, Dave. But I kind of find it hard to believe, man. After Khabib's big speech and his thing that he doesn't want to know nothing, it's over, it's done. His word is honor, and that's it. He's sticking to it. I mean, I don't know who to believe. Dana, that kind of throws stuff out and hopes it might happen, or let's hear a statement from Khabib where he says, you know what, I'm going to rethink what I said. I might have made a mistake. Maybe I want to get that 30 for my dad. Until he says those words, I think Khabib is retired. But I agree with you, man. If Khabib decides to come back, man, what greater hype for 2021 than having Khabib fight GSP? And at that point, how old is GSP in 2021? Is he going to
40.
be hitting 39?
40.
40?
He's 39 now.
Still a fun fight, but I'll
He's
tell you
39.
what, man. Like after that last Khabib performance, man, if
Yeah.
him and GSP fight, I'm picking. I'm sorry. I'm picking Khabib.
Ooh.
I said it. Sorry.
I'm less convinced that George will win as time goes on. As good as Khabib was last fight, and George just keeps getting older. I don't know.
But think about it. But think about it, guys.
You know what George
Khabib
is doing now?
35.
You know
What's he
he's
doing?
in like
Commercials.
Singapore. He's in Singapore right now doing a Celebrity Apprentice MMA version for ONE FC.
What?
Yeah.
Are you
Henzo
kidding me?
Gracie is on it too. He's in some sort of Celebrity Apprentice show with all MMA personalities, and it's like produced by ONE FC, and it's being made in Singapore right now. That's where George is right now.
Wow.
Probably
Where can I
getting
see
paid
this
well.
stuff? Where can
I
you
don't
see
know.
this?
I have no idea. I don't think it's on TV yet.
Internet, man.
Well, we gotta
Come on,
ask our-
internet must have it.
It'll
We
be
gotta
on
ask
the
our
internet.
Singapore fans. Yeah, we gotta ask them how we can find this and see it live. I want to see this.
So
I'd like to see George. How are they gonna translate this stuff? It's already hard enough
GS
for George when he speaks at times.
GSP, Henzo Gracie, Ben Askren, Demetrius
Wow.
Johnson, Sage Northcutt, Brandon Vera, among others, are
What
on
an
this
interesting
The
what an interesting
Apprentice
group, man.
ONE FC edition. It's
So somebody
weird.
gets fired. Maybe Donald Trump. That's where he needs to go right after the elections.
I don't know. Yeah, that's. Are you saying he's not going to win? Is that what you're saying? He should go to Singapore to be on a
I'm
reality
telling you.
show. I'll tell you, he was a
He already
terrible,
was before.
terrible reality show host. He always
What are you
picked.
talking about?
He always fired the wrong people, man. I was a
Dude,
big fan.
That was one of the most watched shows, man.
I know. I
Everybody
watched
The
it.
Apprentice.
I loved Celebrity Apprentice. It was the best thing Donald Trump's ever done. But
Yeah.
he always picked the wrong guy. So I was not too impressed. There's a
What?
big debate. Speaking of politics, there's a big debate going on the chat right now. Habs fan for life says AJ is the GOAT, greatest of all time. But then Alex Tarras, who is correct, says no. Dave is the GOAT. So
I think the real GOAT is.
I talked to you
the
about
real GOAT is Fred.
Wait, I told you about my Russian plugs, man. I got some info from Russia, and I'm telling you, they're both
That's
Russian.
true.
Trolls,
He's got a point.
Russian bots. Yeah, Russian bots.
I don't care, man.
I mean, I don't have no love. Russian bots.
yeah, how come nobody says Fred is the greatest of all time? There's a lot of AJ versus
do,
Dave.
man.
Not a lot of
No,
Fred
no,
love
usually,
on the chat.
It's usually like what it comes down to is that Fred is the voice of reason, man.
Yeah.
Fred is like God. He comes in and is like, Dave, when you're
Which
right,
should
and
be
everybody
scary
listens
to
okay,
you guys with my opinions I have. If I'm the voice of reason, man, and you know the opinions I have, man, you guys should be quite scared right now.
Well, it just shows how
No, but
unreasonable
that-
AJ and I are. You know, we're AJ and I are just so off the wall in our own ways. Fred, you kind of center us for some reason. Fred's my favorite member of the Ringside Report team by far.
Oh,
Thank you.
Sorry, AJ.
it's okay. I love you both.
I'm
anyways,
including
guys.
myself
You're,
on that
you're
team.
allowed to.
I'm including myself. Fred is like he's the
Yeah,
star
I
of the
agree.
show.
That's what I said. I said Fred is the voice of reason. When
That's what
me
I'm saying.
and Dave go off left and right,
Yeah.
Fred comes in and balances out the show, and then
That's
it's
it.
like you always hear like, oh yeah, if Fred agrees with one of the two of us, you know that's the right way to go.
Yeah. So the viewers, you know, they might be Team AJ or Team Dave, but Dave and AJ are both Team Fred. You know, we're all just Team
Yeah,
Fred.
yeah.
Fred is the MVP.
No, but I'm saying is that most of the viewers tend to go with Fred when there's something going on, and when Fred says his point of view, it tends to be like that's where the weight goes. It's like if Fred is going like there was a few episodes way back
He's
when
the deciding
Fred was
vote.
just like agreeing. He was
Yeah.
agreeing with
I'm like
everything AJ says.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Fred is Pennsylvania.
And what are we? We're kind of like I'm
I
kind
came
of
back
like
once. I think it
kinda
was
like
UFC
Nevada.
100,
No, AJ, you're
and
more
I was coming
like
back.
Sorry, Fred. AJ, you're definitely more like Arkansas. Like you're a no doubt slam dunk going that way. And I'm like Vermont. Like you could call me way as soon as the election starts. It's like, yeah, Vermont goes to Biden. Yeah, we all know. All right, I'm Vermont. AJ's Arkansas. It's like Arkansas goes for Trump. Arkansas, no shit. Arkansas goes for Trump. Not surprised.
and Fred is
Came
Pennsylvania.
back from
Yeah.
Came back from Vegas once and had to pass through Philly. And this guy from Vegas gets on the plane, sits next to me, and he goes, "Oh, I partied all night." And the motherfucker just kept on falling asleep on me, man. I had to wake him up like 20 times, man. The worst flight I've ever had. So I don't like Pennsylvania. I'm not Pennsylvania.
Philly is a nice town. I've been to Philadelphia. It's nice. I like it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm pro Pennsylvania.
Did you run up the steps?
I
did
did
you
not
run up the rocky steps?
No.
I did it,
didn't do
dude.
that.
I did it.
I don't doubt that you did that. That sounds like a thing
I did
that
the
you
whole.
would
I
do.
did the whole scene, man.
Yeah.
I did the whole scene, man. Security had to come out, but the thing is that I still did it. It was awesome.
I still
So where are
think-
we? What are we talking about, anyways?
Do you have memories of Anderson Silva? Like, what are your greatest Anderson Silva memories? Here's Dana White talking about the super fights that couldn't happen for Anderson Silva.
Do you know why?
We had these deals where at that time Anderson Silva was in a very unique position. He could have gone down and fought George St-Pierre. They could have come up with a catch weight, or he could have moved up and a catch weight and did Jon Jones. Silva didn't want to move up and fight Jones, and GSP didn't want to move up and fight Silva. So none of those fights ever happened.
They were talked about the Jon Jones Anderson Silva fight at the time would have been huge. GSP and Anderson Silva, there was a lot of talk there. There was talk that they were going to do a catch weight. And then I'm not sure what changed with George, but at a certain point, George just said, I'll fight anybody in the world at 170 pounds. Like, he just refused to budge from that 170 mark. I don't really know why.
Until Bisping got available.
Yeah, until Bisping was a champion. And he's like, yeah, now I'll fight at 185. And it's like, well, what about a few years ago when Anderson Silva, and it was a super fight, and it was like, But I understood George's point there. Like, Anderson was huge. Anderson could fight at 205 pounds. He was a very big man. Going up to fight him would have been high risk. High risk. I don't know if it was worth it, but, you know, Anderson Silva, one of my favorite fighters of all time. There's never going to be another guy like the Spider. Hearing that Ain't No Sunshine by DMX play for the last time in the UFC octagon, it was sad to see the final walk for the Spider, knowing that this was the last one, because he's responsible for some of my favorite memories of all time in MMA, like the Chael Sonnen fight when he came back and choked him with the triangle at the end. That was awesome. I remember being in a room full of people that were rooting for Chael Sonnen, and I was the only guy rooting for Anderson, and they were really giving it to me the whole fight, like, oh, look at your boy, look how it's going. I had money on Anderson with them and everything. It was a big, like, yeah, I was very firmly in the Anderson Silva camp, and they were all on Chael's team, and I was pretty pissed for most of the fight. And then at the end, when Anderson came back, I was like, ha, 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 and I won money, and it was just a great night. You know, like, it was just a beautiful moment. It was like one of the craziest comeback victories of all time, maybe the greatest. Like, can you guys think of a better come-from-behind victory where Anderson's down 4 rounds, about to be down 5 rounds to nothing? Like, Chael starched him, completely dominated him the entire fight, and then at the end, 90 seconds left, he pulls off that triangle choke and manages to tap Chael and retain the title and keep the streak going. Like, that was amazing. I don't think we've ever seen a better come-from-behind victory than that one.
Look, the closest I ever got to Silva, like in some sense, was when Patrick Cote was fighting Silva years back, and I was like training with Cote, and he was using me a couple of times in, like, you know, in grappling, you know, and I was like, man, that it's so awesome knowing that this guy's gonna go fight like my favorite fighter of all time. Well, you know what? Cote was the first guy, when you think about like Chael Sonnen and everything, and I keep bringing this up.
Yeah.
Cote was the first guy that ever brought Silva to 3 rounds. No one ever did it up to that point.
In the UFC.
And then, unfortunately, in the UFC. And the thing is that I remember is, like, Cote stepped back and he popped his ACL. But you know what? Who knows what could have been? I don't think Cote would have won that fight, but it could have went to decision. But really, that was the turning point, I think, of Silva's career, because as it went further down till he met Weidman, that was it, man. That was the silver bullet, and that became really the end of Silva. Because if you look at Silva's career, he has the record for the longest winning streak in MMA. He has 16 straight wins. No one could touch him, regardless of what's happened the last years. You know, there's 16 straight, the longest winning streak. There's 16, man. That's Anderson Silva.
In MMA? Or
yeah,
in the UFC?
In MMA, man. Well, in MMA.
Khabib,
maybe UFC, yeah.
Khabib is 29-0.
No, but Khabib has 14 now. 14, like, straight. The longest winning streak is UFC. Khabib at 14.
In UFC, you're talking about, not MMA.
Yes.
Because the
UFC.
longest winning streak in MMA at 16 makes no sense if Khabib is 29-0. You understand?
In the UFC, Dave. But what I'm getting at is that's the thing, regardless. But what it comes down to is that when you look at, like, records and whatnot, Anderson Silva is on a lot of records in MMA, in the UFC, or whatnot. Regardless, even if he leaves the UFC and goes to Bellator, the guy can still be very competitive there and be a champion maybe at some division, you know, because he'll fight guys that...
Last week we were talking about the greatest fighters, and Anderson Silva's definitely in the discussion. And me personally, when we talk about the greatest, I like to think of the greatest run a fighter has had, because, like, of course, the last couple of years of Anderson Silva has not been good. It's been awful. And Derek Brunson, you're the only guy that lost to Anderson Silva in many years, man. You should feel bad right now. But his run at the top was as dominant as anybody else. Like, even at some point, he was almost bored, it seemed, when he was fighting Thales Laitis, when he fought Damian Maia. At some point, it felt like Anderson Silva didn't feel like he was getting a challenge. So his run as a champion is just as impressive as pretty much anybody in the sport. Like, you could compare it to Khabib, you could compare it to George, you could compare it to Jon Jones.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Anderson's run on top, like just his UFC run from the time he entered the UFC to the time he got beat by Chris Weidman, like, it was a ridiculous run. He beats Chris Lieben, smashes Lieben, then beats Rich Franklin to win the title, beats Travis Lutter, beats Nate Marquardt, beats Rich Franklin again, and he's finishing everybody, right? Knocking out Lieben, knocking out Franklin, submitting Lutter, knocking out Marquardt, destroying him in the first round, knocking out Rich Franklin in the second round, submitting Dan Henderson when Dan Henderson was the man. Like, Henderson was a bad motherfucker back then, and Anderson smoked him. And then Anderson goes up, fights James Irvin at 205, destroys him, beats Patrick Cote. Then he has a Talish Leites fight, and that's the only fight there up until that point where it's like, what happened here? And that was, unfortunately, in Montreal. That was like the only Anderson Silva fight that I actually attended, I think. I think that was the only Silva fight I saw live, and it was one of the worst ones ever. UFC 97 at the Bell Center. Beats Talish Leites in a super boring decision. And then it was the Forrest Griffin fight. It's like, well, maybe Anderson's bored at middleweight. There's no real challenges. Let's move him back up to light heavyweight. Fight a former champion in Forrest. He smokes Forrest in one of the most impressive displays of MMA you will ever see. If you haven't seen that fight, go back and watch it. Seriously, the highlights of that thing, ridiculous. The fight only lasts 3 minutes and 23 seconds. Go back and watch all of it. It's an incredible performance, and it's just one of the things that made Anderson Anderson. Then he beats Damian Maia. He goes back to middleweight, and again, it's like, oh, it's a lackluster performance. Dana was really mad. He's like, if Anderson does this again, I'll cut him. And it's like, dude, he's the greatest fighter of all time up until that point. He's the middleweight champion. You're not going to cut him. Come on, Dana, get it together. Of course he didn't. And then Anderson, like, he kind of seemed disinterested with the whole field at that point. He fights Chael Sonnen next, and, you know, he has that disinterested fight with Maia. Then he fights Sonnen, and he doesn't seem like he really takes Chael that seriously, and he pays the price. And then at the end, he manages this miraculous victory with the armbar and the triangle armbar. It was a bit of a choke, and then he stretched it into an armbar. I'm not really sure what exactly made Chael tap, but Chael definitely tapped. Vitor then was next for Anderson Silva, the front kick to the face, maybe the most impressive knockout of Anderson's career. Beauty knockout, that front kick, like, never seen that before in MMA. Changed the game. I saw a guy in Dana White Contender Series do it last night. I don't know if you caught that, AJ, right?
Yeah, I did.
I mean,
that
was
kick, ridiculous.
That kick was never used in MMA up until Anderson Silva did that to Vitor Belfort. Changed the game with one front kick. I won money on Anderson.
It's a dangerous kick, man.
I won a lot of money betting on Anderson Silva. Like, he felt like a sure thing each and every time out during that era, and I always found somebody to bet against me. So I remember beating somebody on that Vitor Belfort fight, collected money after Vitor got smoked by Anderson. Then it was a Yushin Okami rematch. Okami was the last guy to beat Anderson, and there was a lot of talk. And Okami had made his way up until one of the top middleweights in the world at that point. Okami beat Anderson by disqualification. Like, it was okay. And then Anderson destroyed him when they fought in Brazil. TKO in the second round. Then Anderson fought Chael again, the Chael rematch. Chael was definitely his biggest rival, right? So much beef, so much trash talk. And you could tell Anderson was focused the second time when he fought Chael. Destroyed him, finished him by TKO in the second round. Then he went up to light heavyweight, fought Stephan Bonner just for fun. It was a Brazil card. I think it was a last-minute replacement type of deal. And Anderson smoked Stephan Bonner, and that was really fun. What was supposed to happen that night, right? It wasn't supposed to be Anderson.
Wasn't there talks of retirement at that point when he was fighting in Brazil with Bonner?
It was supposed to be Frankie Edgar versus Jose Aldo. But Aldo got a foot injury on September 12th. So a month before this fight in 2012, Aldo had a foot injury after being involved in a motorcycle accident. So they brought in Anderson Silva and Stephan Bonner as the new main event. That's why that fight got made. I remember it wasn't like, it was a weird matchmaking. It was because Aldo and Frankie were supposed to fight in the main event in Brazil, but Aldo got hurt, so they just put Anderson in there in like an exhibition against Bonner, and he beat the shit out of him. Remember, Anderson's against the cage, and he could totally move up against the cage, and he's like, no, come fight me. And Bonner's like throwing punches and hitting nothing but fence, and Anderson's just like, whoop, 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 whoop. Just like, you can't see me. It was ridiculous. Like, Anderson was godlike. When he was in his prime, it was like otherworldly.
The best.
I've never seen anybody be so dominant. Like, Khabib is dominant in his own way. It's a different way. But Anderson standing up, you've never seen anybody that far ahead of everybody else standing up. Like, I don't think we've ever seen it. That far ahead? Like, maybe Conor in a certain point in his career for a fight or two, but like a champion who was fighting guys that were good and being so much better than them standing up that they couldn't, like, understand what he was doing. Like, he was baffling.
But that's the thing of where a lot of fighters after Silva's prime, like when you think about it, he was kind of like what you see what Jon Jones is, where he's like so unorthodox, and he used, like, you would actually see the martial arts in his fighting, and at the same time he was getting into like the opponent's heads. I mean, you could see him like trash talking when he's fighting and throwing out comments and really like being a mix of Muhammad Ali, antics with like what we would see Jon Jones doing today. I mean, Silva was the first guy to play that game, and he played it so well that people couldn't really read him. And that's what made him like the greatest, I think, possibly of all time, regardless of what the record shows or last week's fight. You're looking at Anderson Silva as being like the very first to really show the martial arts in MMA. And where a lot of guys were just brawling and whatnot, like Anderson Silva would come out with these beautiful like elbows and kicks, and he was just he's a master of the game, and that's why it's unfortunate that he stayed so long when he should have retired.
Fred's giving you the cut sign.
Freddie. No, it's
cut.
not
Red
a cut,
flag.
man, but you gotta look at him.
I know. You called him the greatest, and last week you called Khabib the greatest.
Well, Khabib is the
and
greatest.
I said it last
the greatest.
week. I said it last week. How long before AJ called somebody else the greatest? It took one show.
One show.
Yeah, but wait. Let me backtrack on that. It's hard to say the greatest of all time, but I would say the greatest of that time. So I'm gonna keep it as the GOAT, not the greatest of all
GSP?
time, but just the greatest of that time.
What about GSP?
GSP was the greatest of that time, unless he could come back and actually beat Khabib, and then I say he's the greatest of all time.
Oh, so
but,
so Anderson was the greatest of that time, and GSP was also the greatest of that time, and they fought at the same time?
Well, you know what? It would have been really nice to see these two guys fight off.
Yeah, but you just said that they were both the greatest at that time,
like,
and they fought at the same time. Get it together.
Yes and no, man.
Okay.
Like, it's hard to say. They're like.
Would you?
It's hard to say. Like, who do you think was a better fighter overall, George St-Pierre or Anderson Silva? When you look at it,
overall technique and George St-Pierre. George St-Pierre.
You think so? Over Anderson Silva?
Well-rounded, I'd say George St-Pierre. Anderson was the most dominant. Was more dominant over his opponents. He finished more people. He was very impressive. Anderson's fights were more fun to watch at the time. More exciting. You would see something that you'd never seen before in Anderson Silva fights. You'd see magic. He's the only fighter that I've ever seen be magic in Octagon.
So
I have never seen.
My thing is
never seen any. Have you guys ever seen anything like Anderson Silva since? Like, has anybody, like Israel? They compare him to Anderson Silva. But like, let's be honest,
Israel
he's
has
not.
a bit of him.
He's not. He's not though. Like the movement and the like. Okay, the head movement, the ability to take a punch. Like, Anderson would roll with the punches. He would, like, the punches would just come, like, close to him but not hit him at all. Like, he would duck and dodge punches. Like, the things Anderson Silva would do, I've never seen anybody do since. Like, duck a punch and then throw the jab and just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
So let me give this to you. If you had to put prime Anderson Silva against a prime GSP, prime.
Are they the same size, or are they the sizes that they are in real life?
I'd say, let's say they would fight at 185.
Anderson.
Because George walks around at 195.
Anderson knocks him unconscious. In his prime, he knocks George unconscious. I'm sorry.
Freddie?
Well, size matters in a fight, so I'm going to go with Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
But it would have been a great fight. It's unfortunate we never saw it. Too bad.
Would have been great.
Yeah, but both guys are among the legends.
AJ,
there's
I have a question for you, AJ. It's very important.
Yeah.
Okay, forget about Anderson Silva. It's in the past. He's not fighting anymore unless Dana lets him go to Bellator. which, by the way, Melvin Manhoef should not be fighting tonight. He was a huge underdog, as he deserved to be, because he got demolished in the second round by Corey Anderson. Corey Anderson beat him in the second round by TKO. Corey Anderson makes his Bellator debut successful tonight in Connecticut. The big question is,
Corey.
would you vote for Tito Ortiz?
Why not?
I follow Tito Ortiz on Instagram.
I mean, have you heard him speak?
You,
what do you mean, why not, Fred? What do you mean, why not? Have you ever heard Tito Ortiz speak? Do you know what he believes in?
What's the position?
I mean, just any position. It's Tito Ortiz.
But you know what? It's like, I don't know, man.
Won.
It's like, of course he won. He's Tito Ortiz, man.
He finished third, but the top three get the city council or whatever position he got. So he finished
Who's
third.
Who's going to want to
but
argue with Tito Ortiz, man?
So enough people voted for him so that he won a city council seat in Huntington Beach. Now, he was known as the Huntington Beach bad boy, so I guess he's got to be popular in his hometown. But politicians are supposed to be able to speak. He's barely intelligible. So
I think, man, he gets
that.
himself involved in a lot of... Listen, Dave, he gets himself
Joe Biden
involved in all kinds of things. Good point, Freddie. Good point, Freddie. Good point. And you know what?
Tito
if
Ortiz,
I was in Huntington, I'd be voting for Tito. Just like if George decides he wants to run for mayor here in Quebec, or in Montreal, I should say, I'm going to vote for George. And he would probably win.
I would vote
he would bring in a law about aliens, but that's about it. I'm cool with that.
I would vote for most MMA fighters just on the basis that they are MMA fighters. But I think I'd draw the line at Tito Ortiz. It's just too much.
What?
I'd vote for Chuck Liddell. I'd vote for Randy Couture. I'd vote for Kobe Covington. Whatever. Not Tito Ortiz. It's like too much. All right? I'll vote for whoever. George St-Pierre, Anderson Silva. Whoever I can vote for, it's a UFC fighter. Stipe Miocic, Brock Lesnar for president. Sure. But,
Jason Miller.
Yeah, Mayhem Miller. Whoever. Mike Perry. Sure. Not Tito Ortiz. Well, not Mike Perry. Not Mike Perry and not Tito Ortiz. Sorry. No. If you've ever been accused of beating up women, I can't vote for you. If you've ever been accused of raping women, and if you're ever on tape saying you grabbed them right by the pussy and they let you do it, it'd be hard.
No, Dave. You're mistaking someone. I think you're talking about Bill, right?
Bill Trump? Is that a guy? I don't know. Did you not hear the Access
Joe
Hollywood?
Biden?
You didn't hear the Access Hollywood thing with Trump and when he said grab him right by the pussy, they let you do it because you're famous. You never heard him say that? It's weird. Are you guys the only guys that never heard him say that?
No. Of course we heard that, man. But you know
what? What are you talking about? That's cool. That's fine. That's fine. Okay.
I don't agree with it. That's for sure. But I'm sure there's worse talking in NFL football locker room. I can assure you that.
Oh, well, I wouldn't vote for.
There's probably
I wouldn't vote for those idiots
chat.
either. Huh?
There's probably worse talk on our chat.
No, everybody is very respectful. Everybody's being very respectful tonight on the chat. Don't forget to support us on the Super Chat. Don't forget to support our sponsors, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code Ringside20 to get 20% off your order plus free shipping. They've got the Lawnmower 3.0 now available in Canada. They've got some fantastic products over at manscaped.com. They've got the ball toner. They've got the crop reviver. They've got the ball deodorant. They've got all the products to keep you looking good and fresh in that area. The Lawnmower 3.0, really just a fantastic skin-safe performance, combining third-generation innovations in design power and hygiene. Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. Skin-safe technology is the perfect tool for an incredible grooming experience. And I will tell you, I use it, AJ uses it, Freddie uses it. We all love our Lawnmower 3.0. And I am looking
I'm sure Trump and Biden use it.
I am looking right now at the Weed Whacker, which is a like a nose hair trimmer type of thing, and I am intrigued. I think I'm gonna get myself a Weed Whacker That sounds...
Is it good for the ears?
It's an ear and nose hair trimmer by Manscaped. You could get this right now, the Weed Whacker. Christmas is right around the corner. Guys, I'll tell you, I have checked off many people on my Christmas list. I'm checking everybody off. I checked you off, AJ. You've been checked off.
Yeah. No, but I already have a Manscaped.
Well, I didn't get you Manscaped, but I'm just saying, you need to check some people off your Christmas list. You need to go to manscaped.com, and when you use the promo code Ringside20, you get 20% off your order plus free shipping. So it's a great deal. They've got great products, and, they didn't send us the Weed Whacker. I'm going to see if Manscaped can send us the Weed Whacker. If not, I'll just buy it because this thing looks great. The ear and nose hair trimmer. Freddie, this is what we need here, brother. Keep our nose hairs and our ear hairs. Do you have ear hairs now?
Well, as you get older, apparently it starts
and my
coming
daughter
out, you know?
sometimes will pull it.
Ooh, that sounds painful. I don't have ear hair. Ouchie. For AJ,
It's
you got
mostly
ear hairs?
something I don't want her to do.
No.
Yeah.
So far, so good. Like,
All right. Well,
nothing
Freddie, you
coming
need
out
to
of that-
get yourself a
that
Weed
hole.
Whacker. Go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code Ringside20. Freddie, can we get an update? 45 last week
yeah.
or 2
What,
weeks
Donald
ago?
Trump? 45.
No,
He's the
no.
greatest president ever.
Well, you had your...
Well, in his honor, I'm sticking to 45, man.
Still? My God, Fred. You've been
No,
inactive.
I'm not at 45.
Have you done...
I'm back at it.
All right. So, Fred, you had a vasectomy. You had a vasectomy, what, 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, right? And you're supposed to keep us
Something like
updated. Supposed to keep us updated, let us know, because you had 45 shots after the vasectomy that were still potent, that could still cause damage and still make more Garcia children running around. So many of them
We're
already.
definitely still playing Russian roulette, man.
Still
I'm not up at
playing Russian
45.
roulette. Now, have you,
I told you,
counted down?
45 in 2 weeks, I would have needed a lot of cocaine and hookers,
Wow.
and I would have needed you to get my girlfriend's approval. So
Wow.
I don't think we'll get any of that, and I don't know at how much I am, man. I'm not really counting. I'm not at 45.
listen, I could talk to her. Freddie, I could talk to your girlfriend, man. There's no problem. We could work something out.
No, that's okay, AJ.
Yeah, good luck
And
with
we'll
that.
go to
Notice-
Vegas.
notice
we'll go
he
for
said-
a UFC retreat.
Notice he said, Dave, you talk to my girlfriend and see what you can work out, not AJ, because AJ would make things much worse. I might actually get Fred some sort of pass where he can have
Hooker.
some sort of party. I might be able to work that out. You would make sure Fred never uses his dick again. So we're trying to be on Team Fred here. AJ, you forget, we're Team Fred. We've explained this already.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
show.
for sure, man.
And AJ,
For sure.
you got to do it, man. AJ, man. Come on, man.
No.
You don't want more kids?
I'm not getting no snip. No weed whackers
You're too
going
old,
down there,
man.
man. That's for sure.
Vasectomize
What are you
yourself,
talking about? Are
AJ.
you crazy?
You're too old.
Never, man. What do you think? I'm Bomb Barker? Like, you got to neuter and spray your pet? Forget it. That ain't happening, man.
Bomb Barker?
What's
I'll
happening
tell you
with
what,
Bob
you don't
Barker?
have-
He's still alive?
You don't have Bob Barker's a bank account. I
I
guarantee
wish
you
I
that.
did. But wasn't
Yeah.
he caught with like groping his his ladies in the show way back? Remember that?
Maybe.
So look, if Bob could
Probably.
do it, why can't Trump do it?
Bob Barker's still alive. He's 96.
I don't think that's what you.
He's
I don't think that's an
96.
opinion you want to have, AJ.
No,
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 people
probably
were allowed
not. That
to
was
be
just a joke.
96. Huh? So-
Wow.
I
He
mean,
should have still stayed on his
96.
show, man. He was doing good.
Yeah. Bob Barker. All right, Thiago Santos or Glover Teixeira this weekend? Thiago Santos hasn't fought since the Jon Jones fight back in July 2019. He lost by split decision. After that, he had double knee surgery. Not fought since. He's coming back here to fight Glover Teixeira. Glover is looking good. He's on a 4-fight win streak. Knocked out Anthony Smith. Smashed Anthony Smith in his last fight. Glover looked incredible. He's beaten a lot of people. Glover, 41 years of age, but still a savage, still out there. Thiago Santos, not that much younger. He's 36. Thiago Santos right now, according to our buddies over at Bet99, is the favorite.
Who's the favorite?
Thiago Santos. Coming off double knee surgery, Thiago Santos is the favorite here over Glover Teixeira, minus 250. Teixeira plus 195, the underdog. Interesting.
Well, this is a tough one, man.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't for like Santos' his knee problems, because he has problems in both legs, one an ACL and the other one just like wear and tear. I mean, look, it's a tough one. The way like Glover like destroyed Anthony Smith, which I was surprised, man. He's just a mean fighter. So coming into this fight with Santos being the favorite, you know, he's probably a faster fighter. He's probably an aggressive fighter. But Glover Teixeira, the way he handled Anthony Smith, is too impressive for me. And he's ready to fight 5 rounds, no problem. And that's what's scary. So you know what? I think this is a fight where I'm actually going to go with Glover.
Glover is more technical, I think. So, and Thiago Santos
BJJ
is a little
black
bit
belt,
wild, which could be like in Glover's advantage, like with Teixeira with Santos just trying to throw big bombs, which he likes to do. Glover, who's very technical, I think will hit his target more often, and I got Glover winning, and I'm gonna go with probably a TKO around round 3 or 4, but I got Glover being winning most of the stand-up, and that's where this fight is gonna happen.
I'm not sure Glover will be able to put him away, but I am going with you guys. It's going to be a clean sweep here. The Ringside Report team picking the underdog. Picking the underdog on Saturday night. That should tell you something here, guys. Check out our friends over at
the TKO?
Bet99. I don't know if he's going to be able to finish Santos. I think he probably does, but if he does, it'll be in the 4th or 5th. So Santos might survive. I'm not sure, but I think Santos... A lot of what made him special as a light heavyweight was his movement. You know, like he moves really well, really good footwork. But after double knee surgery, how's that movement going to be? At 36, coming off a surgery on both knees? I don't know, man. You're taking a year and a half off. I wonder what Thiago Santos' movement is going to be. I like Glover in this fight. I think Glover is very tough. People seeing him right now as a plus 195 underdog, I think there's a lot of value there, and the fact that we all are picking him to win says something to me. If we all are coming to our own conclusions here and going with Glover Teixeira, makes you wonder about Saturday night. I think I might put a wager down just based off that.
Look, you're right. These two guys, like, they like to throw punches. They like to throw kicks, and that's the thing. That's how that fight's going to start. Someone is going to get knocked out. There's no doubt about it. But the problem is that if Santos didn't have the issues he had not too long ago, I would have went with Santos. But I'm really nervous about both knees when he's going to throw those kicks. He tires out. They get to the ground, man. You can't beat Glover in jiu-jitsu. I mean, this guy's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's got the powerful fist, so it doesn't matter where you go. But if it gets to the kicking game, I think that's where the wear and tear is going to happen on Santos. And, he might be the underdog. We might have picked the underdog, but you know what? I think it's going to be a Glover win, man.
I think, Jon Jones changes you. I think once you fight Jon Jones in one of those 5-round fights, it changes you. Look at Anthony Smith after fighting Jon Jones. Never the same.
Yep.
After fighting Jon Jones, he's gone, 1-2. He's lost 2 straight. Okay? Look at Dominic Reyes after fighting Jon Jones. 5-round decision, hard fight. Next fight gets destroyed by Jan Blachowicz. And now here Thiago Santos, his next fight after Jon Jones. I think Jon Jones changes you, man. I think Jon Jones changes a lot of things about who you think you are and also your body. I mean, you're taking a lot of punishment when you're 5 rounds in there with a guy like Jon Jones. So we'll see what happens. Thiago Santos needed surgery on both knees after fighting Jon Jones. Had to take a year and a half off from the sport. I'm a little bit surprised that he's coming in as such a heavy favorite. We all like Glover Teixeira to win. Thiago Santos is powerful, though. He lands one on Glover. It could be good night. So that's a good fight. I like that main event on Saturday night for the UFC. Co-main event, you've got Canadian Tanner Boser, big Tanner, taking on
the Bulldog,
taking on Andre the Pitbull Arlovsky. Arlovsky right now at the underdog spot, plus 245. Boser minus 312, according to our buddies at Bet99. AJ, what do you think here? Arlovsky or Boser? If Boser wins, the biggest win of his career,
Look,
Arlovsky wins. He stays in the UFC.
Look, it's crazy because I want to see this Canadian guy fight. He's impressive, and if knockout power, someone's gonna get knocked out, it's gonna be Arlovsky, and that's the thing with Arlovsky. For some reason, he's still fighting, and people are like, "What the hell?" But he's only 41 years old. He's been fighting forever, and the biggest problem with Arlovsky was his chin. Back in the early days, for some reason, his chin has got a lot better in the last fights, so he's able to handle a punch a lot better than he did earlier in his career. But the thing is, it's impressive to think that this guy is still fighting. He's more of a gatekeeper than anything, and that's why Boser coming in, he's faster than Arlovsky. He probably throws harder punches than Arlovsky, and you know what? He's on a good path to really challenge that division in a sense. So you know what? Boser's coming in, and I think he's going to get the TKO. It's not going to be a long fight. Someone's going down fast, and unfortunately, Arlovsky's he did well, but it's not going to end well on Saturday.
Freddie?
I think Arlovsky's the more skilled fighter, but I'm still going to go with Boser because I feel Arlovsky, his chin is like a coin flip. It could give up at any time. So I'm going to go with Boser probably winning by TKO at some point. Not sure what round, but he'll put Arlovsky down.
If he touches him with the right punch, he'll definitely put him down, but I don't know if he's going to get him. I think Arlovsky is technically better, and over 3 rounds, I think Arlovsky's going to be able to stay away and win a decision. He might get hit and go down. Arlovsky's either going to get knocked out or he's going to win a decision. Because I think Arlovsky is the better
going with Arlovsky?
Technical striker. Yeah, I'm going with Arlovsky. I got double dogs on the night. I got Glover and Andre on Saturday night. Going with the old dogs. All right,
Dave. I'm surprised. Really, I'm surprised you're going against the Canadian. Considering how he won his last fights. I mean, And like Freddie says, his chin is questionable.
Though?
Yes.
Who did he fight?
Look,
this guy hasn't fought anybody.
He's fought
Why
Cyril
should
Gane.
he pick him because he's Canadian, man?
Yeah, he lost.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't pick guys based on what country they come from, AJ. That's xenophobic, bro. I don't do that.
Xenophobic.
Xenophobic.
Listen, I'll tell you what xenophobic is. Arlovsky's chin. That's the problem there. You don't know what's going to happen. And Fred, you're saying you're right. You don't know what's going to happen that night. Is he going to have the solid chin or he's going to have the weak chin? And that's the thing with Arlovsky. He always loses by that right punch to the jaw, and it's lights out. And Tanner is going to do exactly that.
Yan Xiaonan takes on Claudia Gadelha. That's a fight I'm looking at, and it's an interesting one. And right now, Yan Xiaonan minus 156, the favorite. Gadelha plus 127. I agree with those odds. I saw it on some sites, though. It was a pick'em fight. It was a little closer on some sites, but Yan Xiaonan looking as a favorite right now. Any other fight on this card you guys are looking at? It's not the most star-studded. The main, co-main is good. Everything else. Darren Elkins is on this thing fighting Eduardo Garagori. There are some fighters that I know, except I don't know their opponents. Marcos Rogerio de Lima, he's a good fighter. He's been fighting for a while in the UFC. Marcos Pezao. He's fighting Alexander Romanov, who I don't really know. Trevin Giles and Bevan Lewis.
When I saw Elkin's name, I said to myself, he's still in the UFC? And now looking at his record, he lost his last 4 fights, so he's probably in need of a win or he'll be out.
He's the favorite in this one. Pretty heavy favorite, minus 240. So, expected to bounce back. I don't know. Not the best UFC card, but the main and co-main are pretty good, right?
It's not that bad. It's not that bad of a card. I mean, you still haven't spoken about Ian Heinisch against Allen. That'll be a good fight.
Who?
Wrestler against a grappler.
Who?
I'm not really sure who they are.
You have Raoni Barcelos versus Khalid Taha. Sure,
Who?
Man.
Who? Pardon me?
Ian Heinisch. You have Raoni Barcelos versus Khalid Taha.
Ian Heinisch is going to lose to Brendan Allen. I got Brendan Allen.
You think so? Okay, I'm writing
that's
that
an
one down.
Interesting fight. Yeah, I got Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen beat
Okay.
Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland's very good. Brendan Allen is running
Yes, he is.
what is this?
He almost broke that guy's neck last
seven
fight.
fight win streak, this guy, Brendan Allen. I got Brendan Allen for the win. And I'm seeing right now it's like pretty close. Allen -112, Heinisch -109 at Bet99. I'm seeing different odds makers have it as a pick 'em. It's very close in the odds.
It's close.
I don't think Heinisch is going to win.
That's exactly what it is.
I got Brendan Allen,
Look,
baby. I'm going with Brendan Allen.
Look,
all right.
Look, and you're probably right there, Dave, because that's what I was trying to say with this fight. This is going to be definitely a wrestling grappling match, and you're looking at an all elite wrestler who's going up against like a top level submission artist, and that's the thing. It's going to be an awesome fight. I think the card is a lot better than it looks, and I think this is one of the fights that are going to stand out. And I think there's going to be a submission out of this fight, and I think Allen's going to take it.
I also like Raoni Barcelos, big favorite to beat Khalid Taha. That's going to happen. Barcelos will cash in. Barcelos will win that
I
fight.
agree with you on that.
He's on a massive win streak, Brazilian fighter. Just beat Said Nurmagomedov. If you beat a Nurmagomedov, you're very good. All right? This guy's going to win. He's going to win.
Freddie
doesn't care.
Barcelos.
Okay, so UFC says The Ultimate Fighter starting in March. They did a whole commercial on Saturday. I was like, cool. And then they announced no coaches. I was like, what? Announce coaches, motherfucker. Who are going to be the coaches? All right, ideal world, the coaches are Conor McGregor and Nate Diaz. Right? Anything better than that? Khabib and George St-Pierre.
That would be interesting. Now, if you want to set
those
up the
two
fight
combinations would get me to watch it, but I don't know. The Ultimate Fighter, I don't miss the Ultimate.
What other combinations would get you to watch it, Fred? Because AJ's gonna watch it if Brendan Allen and Ian Heinisch are the coaches. Like AJ would watch that shit. But what would make you watch the show? Like who would be out there? Conor, Nate Diaz, GSP, Khabib. Who else?
Tony Ferguson.
Well,
Tony Ferguson against Michael Chandler.
I don't think
That'd
that's
be interesting.
Fred's not watching that. Fred's not watching that. Give me something that Fred will watch. I came up with two.
Jon Jones.
Boom. There's one. How about Stipe Jon Jones? There you go. Boom.
Yeah.
There's another one. How about
basically Jon Jones and another big name?
Yeah. How about Israel Jon Jones coaching the Ultimate Fighter? That'd be fireworks,
That's
baby.
what I said just before that.
Oh, sorry. I got confused.
Israel Jan, don't care.
Yeah. Conor or a Diaz brother. A Diaz brother coaching a team of the Ultimate Fighter I think would be hilarious because they wouldn't show up at all.
Colby.
Colby and who, though?
Masvidal.
Ooh, that'd be good.
That'd be good. That would be good.
Something like that. Some drama. Give me that. Watch, they're gonna do. It'll be
with a special appearance of Donald Trump.
This is what it's gonna be, Fred. Okay, it's gonna be Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan. That's my prediction, and no one will watch. No one will watch.
I think it's going to be someone exciting like the names that you mentioned. Even something like a Conor, and versus Ferguson. It's going to be an interesting
fighter
one.
doesn't have enough money for Conor, man.
Correct.
It's going to be Aljamain to go on Conor.
Aljamain and Peter Yan, baby, cash it in, or
those guys will do it for cheap.
Who's the featherweight champion right now?
That
guy.
Yan?
No. The Yan's a bantamweight. The Volkanovski.
Yeah, sorry.
Right. Volkanovski and Holloway or some shit. You know what I mean? Can they do that again? Are they going to do that fight again? They fought twice already, right? Have they done the second one?
Not sure. I think they only fought once.
They only fought once. Wasn't Volkanovski supposed to fight Holloway again? No, they fought twice, man. No, they fought twice.
Twice?
They fought in July. Yeah. They fought twice. What's Volkanovski going to do next? Like, it'll be Volkanovski against somebody. I really have no idea who's next for the featherweight champion. Let me try to find you a really boring season of The Ultimate Fighter that you're going to have. The Australian champion that we forgot was champion, Alex Volkanovski, the guy that beat Max Holloway twice, both by decision, not really convincing in either fight. We forgot he was a champion. Alexander Volkanovski will go up against Brian Ortega on the next season of The Ultimate Fighter, and no one will watch. Okay? That's what they're going to do. It's going to be Brian Ortega and Volkanovski, or Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan, or something boring as shit like that. It's not going to be anything cool. It's not going to be like
Yeah, but what are you talking
Khabib
about?
and
Ortega's
George.
exciting. I'd like to see Ortega against someone.
Oh, yeah, on The Ultimate Fighter, because Ortega and Alex Volkanovski are such compelling personalities that you can't wait to watch them talk and shit-talk each other because they have such beef.
For like 10 weeks.
Get out of here. No one's watching that shit.
So,
Yeah.
so why don't you just put like Nate Diaz and Thiago Sanchez there as like opposite coaches and see how that turns out? You want people to watch?
Yeah.
You want some action? You want things that might
The problem with Diego Sanchez
Forget
being
those
a
guys.
coach is that most of the guys he'll be coaching could beat him probably. So
Yeah.
can't have Diego Sanchez.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He'd have them doing all sorts of wacky shit, too. It'd be great. The fighters would be like, I'm not listening to this guy. This guy's crazy.
He's whacked.
Yeah. It'll be like
But it would make
Valentina
interesting
Shevchenko and Jennifer Maya as the coaches of the next season. Like, I'm telling you, it's going to be boring. Davison Figueiredo and that guy he's fighting on the next pay-per-view. Hey, guys, who's the main event in the next pay-per-view? Alex
Boring as
Perez.
fuck.
Alex Perez. That'll be the next thing. Okay,
Oh, boy.
so Deontay Wilder says his water bottle was poisoned by his own trainer, and that's why he lost the second Tyson Fury fight. What the hell is going on with
What?
this guy? That's what he said. You didn't hear
Seriously?
this? Yeah, he said that.
No.
I heard an interview with him. I saw it on World Star Hip Hop. He was like, yeah, my trainer poisoned my water bottle. I fired him. Like, at first he's like, the costume was too heavy, and then it was like, something's wrong with Fury's gloves. He was cheating in some way with the gloves, and now he's like, my water bottle was poisoned. Like, Deontay Wilder just can't admit that Tyson Fury's better than him, that he was much better than him that night, and that's why when they do rematch, which is going to happen, Deontay Wilder's going to get smoked probably worse than the first time, because instead of figuring out what went wrong in a real sense, he's making up all sorts of nonsense excuses, and he's going to get beat once again.
Yeah, but what kind of poisoning? I don't understand. This is the first time I hear this.
I don't
so,
know. Muscle relaxer, he said?
Like why? Like what would be like what? So he bet against him? Like maybe? Like it doesn't make sense.
I have
like,
no idea. Deontay Wilder
in
seems
the
to have
States,
lost
you
his
could get
mind.
sued by that kind of shit.
Look, I swear, I think
Maybe.
Deontay Wilder's totally lost it. Like, just listening to him talk, all the excuses after the fight, it's like he couldn't fathom getting beat that badly. His mind is blown, and he can't fix it. Like, there's something wrong with him at this point. Like, he just can't. Like, his reality was shattered when that guy whooped his ass so hard. It's that thing of invincibility I was talking about earlier with, like, Adesanya, who thinks he can be the heavyweight champion of the world. You get into this mentality when you're whooping everybody's ass, you think you can't be whooped. And then when you get your ass kicked, you're like, I must have been drugged or something. I don't know what happened. I got really tired really fast. It wasn't the pressure Tyson Fury was putting on me. It was the poison water bottle that my own team did. Like, come on, dude. Come on. People just can't
But it's
understand
funny-
when they get beat.
But it's funny that you say that because I was reading not too long ago while we were talking, and I saw something pop up saying, Paulo Costa's loss was because of like he had impaired legs and he shouldn't have been fighting and whatever. I mean, everybody's gonna have an excuse to a loss. There's no doubt about it. But there's excuses with injuries that during training camp that led up to the fight.
Sure.
Like Khabib had a broken foot getting into that fight.
Yeah.
The man had a broken foot. It's not a joke. How
My
he was
favorite
able
thing-
to fight, I know that feeling.
My favorite
It's
thing
real. But when you start saying
about Khabib and the post-fight and everything we learned about it is that he said he didn't want to break Justin Gaethje's arm in front of his parents, so he choked him out of mercy. He was being merciful by choking him out. That's my favorite thing. Khabib was just like, I could have tapped him with the armbar, but I didn't want to hurt him, so I just put him to sleep gently, which is fucking
And you know what?
terrifying and beautiful.
You know what? I kind of believe what he says, man. And
No, I believe him. Yeah, I believe him. He's that
you know,
good.
it's like
Guys.
listening to like guys that fight in jiu-jitsu. There's always been a saying like, if I like you, I'll put you to sleep. If I don't like you, I'll make you feel the pain till I break you.
Exactly.
So I believe that. And you know what? I believe it, man. But that's what I'm saying. But when you get to an extent of saying a bottle's been poisoned and all that kind of stuff, there's something wrong, dude.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
wrong.
crazy.
All right, guys. Show is done. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Freddie says we're not allowed to go over 90 minutes. We've hit the 90-minute mark. Freddie says it's over. It's over. Freddie, you're in charge. All right? That's how it works. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you big time. Make sure to go to donate.ringsidereport.net to keep us going strong. Support our sponsors, Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Use that promo code Ringside20 for 20% off your order, plus free shipping. In the meantime, go to ringsidereport.net. Follow AJ at Danny Bruck on Instagram and Twitter. Follow Freddie at Freddie MMA. You can follow me on all the things at Dave Simon MMA. I'll be back live tomorrow night right after SmackDown with Johnny North for Wrestling Uncensored. Until then, see ya.